Imagine how powerful it would be if every thought you had about yourself pushed you forward instead of holding you back. What if, instead of tearing yourself down, you knew exactly what to say to build yourself up? How different would your life be if your mind worked for you, not against you? The way you talk to yourself every day shapes your reality. And what if I told you that in just 3 days, you could flip the script and completely shift the way you think? This isn't some empty self-help talk. It's a Stoic practice used by great thinkers to develop discipline, resilience, and an unshakable mind. If you change the way you communicate with yourself, you'll start seeing real changes in how you face challenges, handle emotions, and make decisions. So here's the challenge. For the next 3 days, talk to yourself in a completely different way. Replace self-sabotage with self-mastery. Swap fear for logic. Trade doubt for clarity. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do this, what phrases to use, how to apply them, and why this practice can permanently shift your mindset. But to make sure you really understand and put this into action, stick with me till the end. Before we move forward, I have a challenge for you. Drop a comment below saying, "I'm bigger than my challenges," because challenges exist to be conquered, not to define you. Every obstacle you overcome makes you mentally stronger and builds your character. Keep that mindset, and nothing will be able to stop you. First, your words shape your reality. Think about the impact of every thought that runs through your mind. If everything you said to yourself became true, what would your life look like? More often than not, without even realizing it, we become our own worst enemy, constantly repeating phrases that weaken and limit us. But Stoicism teaches us that it's not external events that define our reality, it's our perception of them. And that perception is shaped by the words we choose to use. If you keep telling yourself that you're not capable, that you always fail, or that things never work out for you, you're programming your mind to believe it. But if you start speaking to yourself strategically, reinforcing your own vision, everything can change. For the next 3 days, challenge yourself to shift your inner dialogue. The first practical step, pay attention to your words. Notice phrases like, "I'm never good enough," or "Things always go wrong for me." The moment you catch yourself saying them, reframe them in a rational and productive way. Tell yourself, "I'm making progress, and every step makes me stronger." Replace "I'm a failure" with "I'm learning and growing with every attempt." Another key point, eliminate self-deprecating humor. Ever said things like, "I'm terrible at this," or "My life is a joke"? Even if you're just joking, those words shape your perception and reinforce a negative narrative about yourself. Instead, shift the focus to your growth. "I'm evolving every day," or "I have skills I can develop even further." The Stoics taught that the mind needs direction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Our life is what our thoughts make of it." If your thoughts create your reality, then train your mind to build a stronger one. In difficult moments, avoid verbal despair. Instead of saying, "This is impossible," ask yourself, "What's the next step I can take?" Instead of declaring, "I'm anxious," say, "I'm learning to manage my emotions better." What you repeat to yourself becomes your mental code. And in just 3 days, you can start reprogramming your mindset, bringing more clarity, confidence, and action into your life. Stoicism isn't about empty positive thinking. It's about building a realistic and strategic mentality. Second, question your emotions before reacting. Imagine how different your life would be if, before reacting to any situation, you could analyze your emotions and choose the best response. How many pointless arguments would you avoid? How many bad decisions would you no longer make? The truth is, most people live on autopilot, reacting without thinking, driven by emotional impulses that don't always reflect reality. But the Stoics teach us that the key to mental peace is developing the habit of questioning our own emotions before we act. As Epictetus put it, it's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Before reacting to anything that triggers anger, anxiety, or frustration, pause and question your emotion. This will give you clarity and prevent impulsive decisions. The first practical step, Create space between stimulus and response. If someone says something that irritates you before responding, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? Most things that upset us in the moment lose their importance after a few hours. Another essential point, identify the root of your emotion. When you feel a surge of anger, fear, or frustration, ask yourself, is this happening because the situation is truly serious, or is my interpretation exaggerating it? More often than not, what we feel isn't about the event itself, but about our expectations of it. Also, replace automatic reactions with strategic reflections. If something doesn't go as planned, instead of thinking, this is a disaster, try, what can I learn from this? If someone offends you rather than lashing out, ask yourself, does this person really have power over my emotional state? Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Another powerful exercise, change your internal narrative. If you feel anxious before making an important decision, instead of saying, I don't know what to do, try, I'm going to analyze the situation calmly and choose the best path. Small shifts in how you speak to yourself can completely change how you perceive challenges. Stoicism doesn't teach you to ignore emotions, but to understand and use them to your advantage. When you question before you react, you avoid regret, make wiser choices, and build unshakable self-control. Third, reality isn't positive or negative, you define it. Think about this for a second. Is what happens to you actually good or bad, or is it just the way you interpret it? Ever noticed how two people can go through the exact same situation and react completely differently? One sees a problem, the other sees an opportunity. One panics, the other gets stronger. Stoicism teaches that facts are neutral. It's our perception that makes them positive or negative. As Marcus Aurelius put it, if you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment of it. And this you have the power to change at any moment. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Change the way you interpret situations around you. Whenever something seems negative, pause and reframe. And the first practical step, observe your reaction to events. If you miss a deadline, make a mistake, or receive criticism, instead of thinking, this is a disaster, ask yourself, is this really the end of the world or just a temporary setback? The way you label a situation determines how you deal with it. Another exercise is practicing conscious reinterpretation. If something bad happens, ask yourself, is there anything useful in this? Can I learn something from it? The Stoics believed that obstacles are disguised opportunities. As Seneca said, what stands in the way strengthens you. So if a challenge arises, see it as a test, one that will develop your resilience. Also, avoid using absolute language to define your reality. The next time you catch yourself thinking, this is terrible, nothing ever works out for me, or this has to be a punishment, swap it for something more rational. This is just a setback, but I can handle it. Or, this challenges me, but it doesn't define me. Small shifts in language change your perception and ultimately how you act. Another key point, develop emotional detachment from events. If something unexpected happens, ask yourself, if I were looking at this from the outside, as an observer, would I still see it as a problem? Many times, when we take a step back, we realize we were overreacting. Stoicism doesn't deny difficulties. It teaches that you have the power to decide how to see them. If you train yourself to do this, you'll start facing challenges differently, reduce stress, and develop a stronger mindset. Fourth, accept what you can't change and change what you can. Think about how much time and energy you've wasted worrying about things completely out of your control. Now ask yourself, what if, instead of resisting the inevitable, you accepted it with calmness and focused only on what you can change? The Stoics teach that there are 2 types of things in life, those we control and those we don't. Wisdom is knowing the difference. As Epictetus said, some things are up to us, some are not. If it's beyond your control, accept it. If it's within your reach, take action. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Stop fighting what you can't change and direct your energy toward what you can. The first practical step: run a simple test every time you feel frustrated or worried. Ask yourself, is this within my control or not? If it isn't, let it go. If it is, make a plan and act on it. For example, if you miss a flight, stressing won't make the plane come back. Instead of getting angry, shift your focus. What can I do now? Find another flight? Rearrange my schedule? If you're stuck in traffic, complaining won't change a thing, but you can use that time to listen to an audiobook or practice patience. Another Stoic strategy: change how you deal with failure and criticism. If you made a mistake, accept reality and focus on improvement. Instead of beating yourself up, ask, what did I learn from this? If someone criticizes you unfairly, you can't control their opinion, but you can control your response. Also, let go of the what ifs. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, what if I had done things differently? Or what if I had said something else? These thoughts trap you in the past. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, embrace everything that happens to you, for it is part of the plan the universe has laid out for you. One more exercise: practice active acceptance. If something bad happens, tell yourself, this happened. How can I move forward in the best way possible? Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It means having the emotional intelligence to stop wasting energy fighting the inevitable. Stoicism teaches that when we accept what we can't change and act on what we can, we become calmer, more effective, and wiser. Fifth, your character matters more than your reputation. If you lost your reputation today, what would be left? Have you ever noticed how many people spend their entire lives obsessed with what others think, trying to please everyone, avoiding judgment, and living according to other people's opinions? But Stoicism teaches that what truly matters isn't how others see you, it's who you really are. Seneca put it best: care more about your character than your reputation, because your character is what you truly are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. Your reputation can be misunderstood, attacked, or distorted, but if you know you're acting in alignment with your values, none of that matters. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Stop wasting energy trying to control what others think of you, and focus on being the best version of yourself. The first practical step: always act according to your principles, regardless of others' opinions. Before making a decision, ask yourself, am I doing this because it's right, or because I want approval? If the answer is the second option, reconsider. The constant need for approval is an invisible chain that keeps you trapped. Another exercise: accept that you'll never have full control over your reputation. If someone spreads rumors about you or judges you without knowing the full story, what can you do? Nothing, except maintain your integrity. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge against slander is not to act like the person they claim you are. If your conscience is clear, your reputation is just an external reflection. It doesn't define you. Also, let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Sometimes doing the right thing will get you criticized. Envious people might try to twist your intentions, but if your actions are guided by truth, those opinions don't matter. Remember, the people who truly matter will recognize your character sooner or later. Another Stoic strategy: detach from external validation. Before worrying about whether you're impressing others, ask yourself, if nobody were watching, would I still do this? If the answer is yes, you're on the right path. If not, you're probably just seeking approval. Stoicism teaches that when we stop obsessing over reputation and focus on character, we become freer, more confident, and more authentic. Sixth, the present is all you have. How many times have you gotten stuck in the past, replaying mistakes, regrets, and things you can't change? Or maybe you've spent hours worrying about the future, trying to predict scenarios that haven't even happened yet. The truth is, the only moment that truly exists is right now. The Stoics understood that living in the past or the future means wasting the only thing we actually have, the present. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's life is just a moment. Our essence is in the now." So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Stop clinging to what's gone or what hasn't happened yet. Focus entirely on the present moment. The first practical step, break the cycle of regret over the past. Every time your mind drifts back to an old mistake or a situation you wish you had handled differently, tell yourself, that's over. What can I do right now? Instead of wasting energy reliving what you can't change, use that energy to build something new. Another crucial exercise, avoid anxiety about the future. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, what if something goes wrong? Pull your mind back to the present by asking, what can I do right now to improve my situation? The future is just a result of the actions you take today. Also, practice mindfulness in daily life. If you're eating, focus on the food. If you're talking to someone, truly listen. If you're working out, feel each movement. The mind has a habit of drifting, but you can train it to be where your body is. Another key point, stop postponing life. Have you ever said things like, I'll be happy when I get that job, or once I have more money, I'll enjoy life more? The Stoics remind us that the right moment never comes. Life is happening now. If you don't learn to appreciate the present, you'll never feel satisfied, even when you reach your goals. Stoicism teaches that peace comes when we accept the now and live each moment fully. When you focus on the present, your worries shrink, your clarity grows, and life becomes far more meaningful. Seventh, adversity strengthens the mind. What do you do when life challenges you? Do you see obstacles as unfair burdens or as opportunities for growth? Many people believe that a life without hardships would be ideal, but the Stoics taught the opposite. True strength is forged through adversity. Seneca put it this way, fire tests gold, and adversity tests the brave. In other words, challenges aren't punishments. They're training grounds that make us stronger, wiser, and better prepared for life. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Instead of complaining about difficulties, start seeing them as tests that prepare you for something greater. The first practical step, change how you perceive problems. Whenever something difficult happens, pause and ask yourself, how can this make me stronger? Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Try, what can I learn from this? This mindset shift turns every hardship into a stepping stone for growth. Another powerful Stoic exercise, practice voluntary discomfort. If you constantly seek comfort, even small struggles will feel unbearable. But if you intentionally expose yourself to discomfort, like waking up earlier, facing a fear, or going a day without complaining, your mental resilience grows. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Also, replace frustration with adaptation. When something doesn't go as planned, instead of getting irritated, ask yourself, what's the best way to handle this? If your day takes a bad turn, see it as a test of patience. If an obstacle arises, treat it as resilience training. The more you practice this mindset, the more unshakable you become. Another essential point, avoid victimhood. Stoicism teaches that you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. Anytime you feel the urge to complain, try the opposite. Embrace the challenge consciously and decide that it will make you stronger. The Stoics remind us that adversity isn't a curse, it's a training ground for the mind. The more challenges you face head-on, the more prepared you become for whatever life throws your way. Eighth, not everything deserves your reaction. How many times have you wasted time and energy reacting to something that, in the end, didn't really matter? A pointless criticism, a provocative comment, a situation that wasn't worth your attention. Now imagine if instead of reacting impulsively to everything, you chose where to invest your energy. The Stoics teach that not every stimulus requires a response, and knowing when to stay silent is a sign of strength, not weakness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if something external disturbs you, it is not the event itself that affects you, but your interpretation of it. And that is something you can change. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Before reacting to any provocation, criticism, or unexpected situation, pause and ask yourself, does this really deserve my attention? The first practical step, learn to separate what's important from mere noise. Not every argument is worth your time. If someone provokes or tries to irritate you, try silence. Not responding is already a response, and often it's the most powerful one. Another key exercise: observe your first emotional reaction and consciously decide if it's worth acting on. If something makes you angry, before responding, take a deep breath and ask, will reacting to this actually benefit me in any way? If the answer is no, move on. Also, learn to ignore without carrying resentment. If something isn't worth your response, it's also not worth occupying space in your mind. If someone unfairly criticizes you, instead of justifying yourself, just remind yourself, my peace is worth more than my need to be right. Epictetus said, if someone tries to provoke you, remember that an insult only exists if you accept it. Another crucial point: avoid reacting too quickly. If something upsets you, give it time before taking any action. Most of the time, what seems urgent fades into insignificance after a few hours. Before responding to a negative comment or making an impulsive decision, ask yourself, will this still matter a week from now? If not, let it go. Stoicism teaches that saving unnecessary reactions means saving mental energy. When you choose where to invest your attention, you develop more clarity, more peace, and more control over yourself. Ninth, be your own master, not your own enemy. If you paid attention to the way you talk to yourself, would you realize that you're often your own worst critic? The mind can either guide you or trap you. It all depends on how you train it. Now imagine how different your life would be if, instead of sabotaging yourself, you coached yourself like a mentor who truly wants to see you grow. The Stoics teach that the way we speak to ourselves shapes our actions, and ultimately, our reality. If you constantly tear yourself down, doubt your abilities, or let fear of failure hold you back, you become your own enemy. But if you approach yourself with the discipline of a master, correcting yourself with logic, not cruelty, everything changes. As Epictetus said, no man is free if he cannot command himself. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Replace self-sabotage with self-discipline. Talk to yourself as a mentor speaks to a student, not as a judge handing down a harsh sentence. The first practical step: pay attention to your inner dialogue. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, I'm a failure, or I'll never get there, pause and reframe it. Ask yourself, if I were my own mentor, how would I advise myself right now? Swap destructive criticism for constructive analysis. Another essential Stoic exercise: take full responsibility for your progress, but without punishing yourself for mistakes. If something goes wrong, instead of tearing yourself apart, ask, what can I learn from this? Marcus Aurelius wrote, the mistake is expecting others not to fail, or thinking that you will never fail yourself. Real growth comes from correction, not guilt. Also, avoid comparing your progress to others. Your path is yours alone, and measuring yourself against someone else's timeline only leads to anxiety and frustration. Instead of asking, why am I not there yet? Try, what can I do right now to move forward? Small daily actions matter far more than pointless self-criticism. Another powerful Stoic strategy: practice rational self-compassion. This doesn't mean being lenient with yourself. It means understanding that no one grows by beating themselves down. If a friend were feeling discouraged, would you motivate them or just list their flaws? Treat yourself the same way. The voice in your head should be your ally, not your executioner. Stoicism teaches that when you become your own master instead of your own enemy, transformation happens from the inside out. You grow stronger, improve continuously, and become immune to the traps of self-sabotage. 10th, don't complain. Act or accept. Think about how many times you've complained about something you couldn't change. How often have you wasted energy repeating the same negative thoughts without actually doing anything about it? Now, imagine how different your life would be if instead of complaining, you chose to either take action or accept reality. The Stoics teach that complaining about something unchangeable is a waste of time and mental strength. If there's something you can change, take action. If not, accept it with calmness. As Seneca put it, either endure it bravely or stop complaining. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Every time you feel the urge to complain, replace it with either practical action or full acceptance of reality. The first practical step is simple. Whenever a negative thought arises, ask yourself, does this have a solution? If yes, do something about it. If not, let it go and move on. Getting stuck in outrage mode doesn't change anything, it just feeds frustration. Another Stoic strategy: turn challenges into conscious choices. If you're stuck in a job you hate, complaining won't fix it. You can either look for a new opportunity or accept your current situation while planning your next move. If you're stuck in traffic, getting angry won't clear the road. So why not use the time to learn something, listen to an audiobook, or simply practice patience? Also, eliminate phrases like, "this isn't fair," or "why does this always happen to me?" Life isn't about fair or unfair. It's about how you respond. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your interpretation of it. And this you can change at any moment. Another practical exercise: observe chronic complainers and notice how it leads nowhere. People who constantly complain stay stuck, while those who act or accept move forward. Ask yourself, do I want to be someone who solves problems or someone who just complains? Stoicism teaches that when we stop complaining, we free our minds to focus on real solutions, bringing more peace and effectiveness into our lives. 11th, everything is temporary, even your problems. Think about a difficult moment in your life, something that worried you, consumed your thoughts, and maybe even kept you up at night. Now realize it passed, you survived. Maybe you don't even remember it that vividly anymore. That's because everything is temporary, including your problems. The Stoics teach that nothing in life is permanent, not pain, not joy, not challenges. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, all things we see pass away and will soon turn into mere legends. In other words, what seems huge today will eventually be just another memory. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Whenever you face a problem, remind yourself that it will pass. Stay calm and avoid impulsive reactions, because every storm eventually clears. The first practical step is simple. Before letting a difficulty overwhelm you, ask yourself, will this still matter a year from now? Most of the time, the answer will be no. What feels unbearable now will fade into irrelevance over time. Another Stoic strategy: accept the temporary nature of emotions. If you're feeling sad, anxious, or angry, instead of being consumed by it, tell yourself, this is just a passing state, not a permanent reality. Like clouds in the sky, feelings come and go. Also, practice emotional detachment. If something is bothering you, imagine yourself observing the situation from the outside as if you were a spectator. Ask yourself, if a friend were going through this, what advice would I give them? This exercise helps you see problems more clearly and react with less distress. Another key point: don't cling to suffering or to success. Stoicism teaches that we shouldn't despair in hardship, but we also shouldn't be fooled into thinking good times will last forever. Everything changes, and understanding this gives us the serenity to handle any situation. Stoicism teaches that when we accept the impermanence of life, we become more resilient and less reactive. No pain lasts forever, and realizing that gives you the strength to overcome any challenge. 12th and final point: life is a matter of perspective. If you could change your life just by changing the way you see things, would you do it? The truth is, the way we interpret events shapes our reality far more than the events themselves. The Stoics teach that it's not situations that affect us, but how we choose to perceive them. Epictetus put it this way: men are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them. In other words, you can see a problem as a burden or as a challenge. You can see failure as the end or as a lesson. You can take criticism as an insult or as an opportunity to grow. So here's your challenge for the next 3 days. Before labeling a situation as negative or positive, stop and shift your perspective. The first practical step: question your initial reaction. When something seems bad, ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? If you make a mistake, instead of blaming yourself, ask, what can I learn from this to become better? Another Stoic strategy: take the observer's perspective. Imagine that you're looking at your situation from the outside, as a neutral spectator. What would you tell someone in your position? Many times, we realize we're overreacting just because we're too emotionally involved. Also, turn challenges into opportunities. If something unexpected happens, instead of thinking, "This ruined my day," try, "This is a test of my patience and self-control." Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path." What seems like a problem today could be exactly what strengthens you tomorrow. Another exercise. Apply the perspective of impermanence. If something bothers you, ask yourself, will this still matter a year from now? Most problems fade over time, but our reactions can leave lasting marks. Learn to approach difficulties with more lightness and wisdom. Stoicism teaches that when we change our perspective, we change our lives. If you train your mind to see challenges as opportunities, frustrations as lessons, and obstacles as stepping stones, your journey will become much lighter and more productive. Congratulations on making it this far. If you watched until the end, it means you're investing in your growth, strengthening your mindset, and seeking a wisdom to improve your life. And that's the first step toward real transformation. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these lessons resonated with you the most? Which one will you start applying in your daily life? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you don't have anything specific to say, just comment gratitude so I know you made it to the end and are on this journey with me. See you in the next video. Until then, practice what you learned today.